It is Halloween week, and things are getting a little scary out there. Hello, I'm Nicole Frail, and this is Wildwood Teaching. And today I want to talk about three of the scariest recent trends that I am noticing in the early childhood landscape. The first one I want to talk about is the encroaching use of technology at a younger and younger age. I'm seeing online platforms, video game software aimed at toddlers and preschoolers, right? Log your child in here and they will learn their numbers. Sign up for this AI software and we'll teach your child early reading. Now, I'm actually not at all anti-technology. I am a big believer in STEM in all of its forms, including the T for technology. But I think there is a difference between using technology as a tool and expecting it to do the work for us. So we know that young children learn through interactions, conversations, hands-on opportunities to explore. Clicking a button to answer a question on a screen is not hands-on interaction. I mean, yes, yeah, the children are moving. They're moving their finger to click that button, but they aren't exploring anything. They aren't getting any feedback. They aren't getting any emotional reaction or connection to another human being. And so, really, when we do this and we use the software, it's no different than the drill and kill flashcards that we know don't work for young children. So how we use it here at Wildwood Nature School is that we treat technology as a tool, right? We use our phones to record sounds in nature, bird calls, or we use our phones to take pictures of things that we are noticing in nature. We are observing spiders in their habitats and we want to learn something. Or then we compare our pictures to online apps, guides like the Merlin app or iNaturalist that helps us identify the nature that we're coming in contact with and learn something about it. We might use our phones to magnify something that we're seeing. Either we have a magnification app or we're just zooming in with that picture. And that helps us observe and notice things that might not be noticeable to the naked eye. Or we might want to have a trail cam set up or a camera that is dug under the ground so that we can see the animal interactions that are happening when we're not there, right? And then make inferences about how they are going about their days, and what kinds of interaction we may or may not have with them. So, okay to use technology, yes, if we remember to use it as a tool, not as the solution, right? Not as the teacher. All right. Second scary trend is teacher directed activities and what I'm going to call like three-dimensional worksheets that are masquerading as hands on play. So we all know by now and we all accept this as knowledge in early childhood education that young children learn through play and that they need those hands-on learning experiences to touch and explore and interact with objects. But I'm seeing that this notion of play and hands-on is often misinterpreted to mean that if the teacher incorporates movement or a game into what they're doing with the children, then it qualifies as play. Or as long as the children are moving, this counts as hands-on interaction. So, like, I have an example here. There's a lot of these little, clip cards, right? They have them for math, they have them for letters, right? Where children are counting the objects and then they're supposed to clip the clothespin on the matching number. Now, yes, the children are physically counting something. They are actually moving, right? They are interacting with an object, the clothespin, right? To move here. But here's the thing. The object that they are interacting with is the clothespin. They are not exploring the clothespin. Right? This is not a hands-on learning activity about the clothespin. This is what I call a three-dimensional worksheet. Now, the children might have fun doing it. They might be learning something. That's all okay. And I'm not telling you to never do anything like this. What I am telling you is that this is not hands-on learning, nor is it play. Right? There's only one particular answer. Nobody's exploring anything. Nobody's testing anything. There is one answer. For something to be hands-on, you need to have that exploration piece, and it needs to be that you're exploring what you are interacting with, the object that you are manipulating. And for something to qualify as play, it needs to come from the children. It needs to be open-ended at some point, right? Now, that doesn't mean that the teacher can't be involved in the play. It doesn't even mean that the teacher can't ask open-ended questions. What are you attempting to do here? What are you thinking about? What other things might you want to try? I wonder if, excuse me, I wonder what would happen if. That's okay, right? Suggestions are how you challenge the children. You might want to bring in new materials. I noticed that my children are dumping and filling. I noticed that they are exploring gravity. And so I'm going to bring in more materials. That is me as a teacher having an input in it. But I am not taking over. I haven't decided how and what they are going to do and when. I'm taking my cues from them and helping them move it farther along. All right. Third one is the biggie, right? Scariest trend that I'm seeing in early childhood education right now is the rising cost. And by that, I mean the cost to everybody involved, the cost to the families, the cost to the operators, the owners of the programs, and the cost to the teachers that are in the trenches doing the work every day. And these expenses are getting more expensive. Last year, my insurance costs quadrupled here. Now that some of that has to do with the fact that I am also a nature program, but liability insurance for childcare has also gone through the roof. In my area, rents are rising, even though there are a lot of unoccupied buildings. Just recently, my utilities, both the water and electricity, they hiked their rates. So we're left with untenable choices in early childhood education, right? Do we pass those rising costs on to the parents, or do we find a way to cut the costs? Now, let's say we want to pass the costs on to parents, because I've had parents say that to me. The parents who are lawyers, the parents who are, highly paid tech executives. or the parents who have alternate, right, extended family nearby, they say just raise your raise your rates, right? But here's the thing, parents in the US typically spend about 22% of their total income just on childcare costs. And in most states, childcare is more expensive than rent. And so when we raise our rates, that's going to price out the low income families who need the childcare the most because they lack those privileged supports that other higher income earners have, right? They don't have grandparents who can step in and watch the kids. They aren't able to have flexible work hours, right? The things that often higher income earners rely on to make things work as a family. So, what's our other solution, right? There's a limit to how much of that childcare cost we can pass on to parents. So, what do we do, right? The cuts often come in the form of low teacher wages or limited staffing, right? We go to that absolute minimum of what our adult to child ratio needs to be, and we stick to it. Or we have people doing multiple roles, right? You are a lead teacher and you're also the assistant director. You are our assistant teacher and you are also the cook, right? Um, But here's the thing, if our goal is high quality programs that meet the needs of all of the families in our community, then neither of those is an acceptable solution. We don't want unaffordable costs to parents, but we want to pay teachers what they are worth for the amount of hours that they give us. And we want quality. We want to hire quality people entrusted with our most precious possessions, right? The children who rely on us to grow and learn and be healthy. There are only two entities that I know of that we can afford to pass the cost on to. One is large companies, not small businesses, large companies that can subsidize childcare costs, or the government also that can either subsidize costs or offer grants to programs or families. And I know that many cities and states are buying into this universal preschool, right? And putting some money into public preschool programs. And that is fabulous. Two problems. One is that they are often only for that year right before kindergarten, right? Let's do a stopgap measure, get kids ready for kindergarten. Um, or as I see right now, um, as the federal government is pulling back funding, states are having to scramble and local governments are trying to scramble to find other needs. And so in Oregon, there's a controversy of, pulling money from our citywide public preschool grants to pay for food because now people need food subsidies. That's a hard decision to make. Stopgap measure, right? I'm not saying abandon the other two, is to find ways to cut costs elsewhere. And here, you know what I'm going to say, right? I'm going to advocate for permitted and licensed outdoor preschools that take place in public parks, in forests, in natural areas, right? Because your cost of your permit for operating is going to be far less than rent and utilities. Now, this, of course, requires a shift, right, in the local, state, and federal governments and childcare licensing regulations, right? Because the landscape right now is that insurance companies, the governments, the public entities that run those public parks see outdoor preschools as a risk. And so one, we've got to have licensing, and two, the point that we're at right now with our Outdoor Early Learning Alliance of Oregon is, yay, we have a licensing, but where do we go? Because now, can you help us, Department of Early Learning and Care, can you help us, Oregon State Government, in convincing local entities that yes, we can operate safely in your public park? And we need to, because we have a childcare desert and a crisis right now, and this is a solution to it. And so I'm going to say for this issue, right, the cost of childcare, as well as the other two, right, and coaching technology into early childhood and the not really play, masquerading as play. First, the easiest thing to do and the way to have control is to focus on the things that you can control in your own classroom with your own group of preschoolers in your own program. Start there. But then, we are going to need to do some advocacy work, get the word out to parents, join your local whatever forest preschool association or general preschool association, right, where you can start to advocate for the things that children and families and communities need, because our community is going to rely on those children being healthy and growing into healthy, productive adults for the health of the overall community. So you have your charge. Go out and do it. And I will see you here next week for another episode of Wildwood Teaching, when I will be talking about 5 of the easiest ways that you can incorporate nature into your program, whether you are not doing it yet or whether you just want something new, quick and easy to incorporate into what you're already doing. I will see you there.